we start with the demonstration of the DataHub, I want to give you some brief background about where DataHub comes from and where we are at the moment in the UK and in Australia, so you better understand how this all comes together. So first of all, DataHub is managed and generated by a company called For Global, which is an international sports consultancy working in major sporting events, sports planning consultancy, and data and information management solutions in the UK and internationally. DataHub, as the sector's largest repository for sport and physical activity data, was created back in 2013 with the aim of providing better business intelligence to businesses that operate in the sports and leisure industry to help them make better business decisions based on data rather than guesswork. And as part of our international expansion, we have been working with Links Modular Solutions in Australia for the past 18 months in order to provide the same type of intelligence, business intelligence, and data analytics solutions in Australia. So a few numbers about the DataHub. So we said it's the largest sector repository. What does it really mean? It means there are close to 600 million leisure center visits being tracked in the UK and other countries from over 2,200 leisure centers feeding data into the DataHub, and over 8.5 million individual people's participation data is being monitored in order to generate this business intelligence. So when we are putting our stats back to the sector, this data comes from all this massive amount of information coming from directly people's actual behavior in terms of how they get active. And the last number you see on the screen, 4.5 active data users, mean there are close to 5,000 individuals that work in the leisure industry in the UK that on a daily basis, from general managers of leisure centers to executive directors of largest operators, making business decisions with better intelligence available at their fingertips. So how does this process really work? I mean, the way we define this journey of data as part of this digital transformation is everybody collects a lot of data. So one thing is clear, there is a lot of data in the leisure industry. However, where the sector has been lagging behind is how this data turns into business intelligence. And that's what primarily DataHub does, taking a lot of data, processing it, standardizing it, and providing better intelligence to businesses to run their operations. But it doesn't end there, because again, you can have a lot of intelligence, but what's really important is what do you do with this intelligence? So the so what question. And the whole aim of DataHub is taking this intelligence and helping businesses to better take actions through that insight that's provided to them in their businesses. And if I should give an example, it's always good to know that you have a high attrition rate or you have a problem with retaining your members. But the key question is, what do you do about this? How do you target the right people? How do you create the right programs or design the right facilities, make the right investments in order to deal with these problems or in order to stay ahead of the sector? So how do we actually take that data and turn it into intelligence and insight? Obviously, all of you run leisure centers, some of you larger, some of you smaller operators, and your data is collected in your leisure management system. We have a direct link to your leisure management system, so Links and DataHub are fully integrated, which means when you join the DataHub, all your historical data and on an ongoing basis, your daily information from your activities, bookings, swipes, memberships come into the DataHub. What's really important is how this information is standardizing the DataHub. So this data that has different naming conventions all around the country is being matched against the sector standards, so that data can be aggregated and sector intelligence can be generated. And once this data is processed, it's fed into a number of business intelligence modules, so operators, based on their requirements, can access this intelligence at their fingertips. And in today's presentation, you will see a couple of those modules. In my final slide, I would like to mention the operator journey within the DataHub. When operators join the DataHub, this life cycle is showing how the operators move around the different stages of their data maturity curve. So the first stage of that is really predict stage, so which is understanding what your latent demand is, understanding optimal size of your facility, and how you should program in order to generate the maximum demand in your facilities. Then once you start tracking those programs, what's really important is benchmarking your performance against the sector data. So where you are better and worse than the sector, and where are the improvement opportunities. And once you do the benchmarking, you go to the next stage where you start analyzing your data, diving deeper into your programs, membership KPIs, so you better understand these drivers of the performance, which is nicely translating into the next stage, which is all about targeting. Targeting the right people, targeting the right locations, and offering the right programs to these target groups. And once you do that, you come to the final stage where you measure the impact of these interventions and you evidence your results. So DataHub helps operator to move around this life cycle and provide better insight to go through these different stages of the operator journey. So in today's presentation, what you will see is how we deliver this insight in a number of products. What you see on my screen is the full product suite of the DataHub in the UK. And in Australia, what we have started is rolling out this product suite. And in today's presentation, you will get direct insight from 4 of those modules. So as Ian said, I'll just continue with the presentation, but if you have any questions, more than happy to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. So on my screen, you see the landing page of the DataHub, where each operator has their own logins, and there is no limitation on how many people can have access to DataHub from one operator. And what's really important is there are different stages of access. So you can be an executive in the operator, so you can get this full view of your operator, or you can be a leisure center manager where you will access your information just you're at leisure center level. What's really important before I open any of the insight in the platform is every operator has only access to their own data and aggregated data from the industry. So by all means, your data is protected and secured within the DataHub, so no one else but your own organization can have access to it, but everybody who is part of the DataHub contribute to the generation of the sector standards. When I sign in to my operator account, where I land is my profile page. And on my profile page, on the right-hand side, you see the full suite of products. And out of these 9 products, all the ones you have access to is basically the colored ones, and all the others are highlighted dark. And this means they are either not available at the moment, or you don't have the right privileges to access those modules. And in the future, if you get access to those ones as well, again, there will be a single location where you access all these different products. The reason for the different colors are they represent the different stages of the business intelligence from the life cycle. You might remember there are benchmark, analyze, target, and evidence module within the data. On the left-hand side, before I open the individual modules, there is a section called Operational View, where basically you can see the full operational structure of your DataHub, of your operator. So if you are a large operator with a number of different regions, contracts, and leisure centers, you can group them into those different categories. So when it comes to your individual products, you can see regional or contract-based analysis as well. And the good thing is this is central to the DataHub. So in the future, if you acquire more centers or win more contracts, you don't need to go into each individual product and update this, but it will be automatically updated through the information coming from your leisure management system in a single location. Then if we go through those 4 different products, the first one is what we call the health check. And the health check is the product that you can start using even before your integration with the leisure management system happens, because the way we use the health check is to give you a better view of your use of data within your organization, like how much data you use to make business decisions. And in that one, the health check is a standardized survey that goes in 6 different areas. So strategic goals, organizational impact, market awareness, reporting, growth and development, and data awareness are the 6 categories where this standardized survey can be filled by different members of staff, from center managers to the exec level. So before you start actually using data to make business decisions, you find out what's the level of use of data across your organization. And once this standardized survey is filled by all the different members of your organization, you get access to this analysis section where you can see your own data health check score, your operator average, and your sector average. So the idea here is in these 6 different areas to give you a better understanding of where you are in terms of making like organizational impact decisions, like so your community impact, measuring your community impact, how much data you use there, and how does it benchmark against the sector. This is quite important because you might be thinking as the executive team of the organization that you are using pretty good data to make business decisions, but at the center level or at your contract level, your team might have a different idea. Or in one sense, you might have pretty good scores in reporting, so you might have good reporting in place, but you might not be using data to actually make better targeted marketing. So as an organization, this helps you to better understand where you need to improve more. And the good thing is you can run this same health check or every quarter, and you can see how much your organization develops in using better data. So over time, if you are making progress in terms of using data in defining your strategic goals, as a business, this proves that the investment you are making in the use of business intelligence is helping your organization. So after the health check, we go to the second product, which we call the data integrity. Data integrity is the backbone of the DataHub, because what data integrity provides you is an opportunity to match your data against the sector standards so you can start benchmarking your performance. Again, if we think about why this is important, we know operating in the leisure industry, we use quite interesting names for our activities to make it even more appealing for our customers. So a swimming class can be called Little Ducklings, Junior Swimming, or a lot of different naming conventions, which is quite difficult when it comes to really understanding which category it falls into. So what data integrity tool does is, through our automated processes, it takes out all these different activity names and matches it to the standard sports and programs in the sector. So about 90% of this matching is done automatically when you join the DataHub, because in the last 5 years, we have developed a full data repository of over 250,000 activity names that can be automatically picked and matched against standard names. And then the rest of those, you have the full access to the product to continue with your matching. When you first join the DataHub, we organize a session which we call the Data Hug for you to welcome you to the DataHub. And this is the stage where you see, where you get access to the screen that is on my presentation. And let's say you are calling an activity Sunday body pump 5 o'clock, or lunch body pump, or Les Mills body pump. You can basically select these activities, find the right category for it, and basically match that against body pump. And what's great is, as soon as you do this matching, your data integrity scores goes up, and going forward, anything that's called that same name, you will not need to match again, and it will be automatically picked up. I mean, at the moment in the DataHub, after 5 years, our average data integrity score is over 98%. So this is the collective work of our data intelligence team and operators continuously improving their sector standards in order to match their activities to create better data intelligence. And again, the question comes, why would an operator do that? So why are they spending time to match those activities? What do they get in return? Because the moment you do this matching, you get access to our third product, which is what we call the league tables. So this is about benchmarking your performance. And benchmarking is only possible if your data is standardized. So what you see on my screen is a sample operator with 40 different sites. And you can see their performance across these 40 sites against the sector. So obviously in the sector, you will have hundreds, thousands of sites that are not your sites, but the advantage is now you have an opportunity to benchmark your throughput performance against the rest of the sector. So these are all obviously dummy numbers that you see on my screen, but what it shows me is my best performing site in the last month compared to the previous month have seen 169% growth, and its DataHub rank will be number 1. And what you can also do is benchmark against the same month previous year. So that way, in an ongoing way, I can benchmark all my individual sites and identify where I have a problem, like my lowest performing top site, 5 sites, or my highest performing 5 sites. And I click any of the sites, which opens another graph just below, which shows me in a sector graph where, in my demo system, I have 80 sites. So my 40 sites in those 80 sites basically are placed in the best performing quartile with 125% growth in my Demo Leisure Center 8. If I select another site, which has quite a decline, so for about 40% decline, that I see this will be placed in the lowest quartile. Again, this is quite important if you think of a month like December, where you have a lot of declining participation. One of your sites with 4% decline in total throughput might be actually in the best performing quartile. So the whole idea of the league tables is to give you an opportunity to really understand the golden threads where you have best and worst performance. And the good thing is you have some further filtering capabilities in here. So if you want to make this more specific, I want to really benchmark my swimming programs. And within swimming, I want to really understand how I perform in learn to swim programs. And actually, January is not the month which I want to benchmark. I want to go back in time, September 2018. And basically, if I run this, obviously my data is just randomized in here, but basically you can get the same benchmarks, but this time for September period, and all of your sites' performance against the rest of the industry. You can do that in multiple sports at the same time. So you can say, I'm only interested in swimming, group workout, and fitness programs, all the major sports, and get your benchmarks for these sports against the rest of the sector as well. So like you do your benchmarking based on sports and participation numbers, the other way to benchmark performance is using your membership data. So in the membership site, this time, instead of your throughput data, you get the same graph with your actual member numbers, live member numbers. And again, what you can do is, first of all, understand which of your sites have the highest live member numbers versus lowest, and also how their performance fluctuate from one month to the other, and where you have best performing sites. And again, how they benchmark against the sector. And here, like the standard sports and activity names, you have the standard membership descriptions. So again, you might be calling one of your memberships junior, some others might be calling it like children memberships, concession. But what's really important is all of those being matched to the sector standards. So again, if you want to do a gym-only membership benchmarking, you can do that through the system. Again, coming back to the data security and privacy of your information, benchmarks are only provided if there are enough comparable sites in the DataHub. Like, for example, if an operator tries to drill down too much, whereas there are not less than 5 sites that are not the operator sites from at least 2 other operators, basically they don't get to see any benchmarks. So that way they cannot identify any of the direct competitor sites, but it gives them a good view of the sector numbers when they use the benchmarking at the higher levels. So just to recap before I go to the next stage, our journey starts with the health check, which gives us a good understanding of our status in terms of use of data to make business decisions. Once we do that across our organization, we move to the next stage where we start drilling down into our own data, and we match that data against the sector standards, so we can start understanding how we perform against the sector, which is taking us to our league tables, where we can benchmark our individual site performance in sports and memberships against the rest of the sector. So that initial stage, which we call the red zone, is your benchmarking zone after the initial integration. The next product, which is the last product I want to show today, is where we go to the next stage after benchmark, and we ask the question to ourselves, okay, in certain areas I perform worse or better than the sector, but can I drill down a little bit more into my own performance data? And this is where you go to the Business Insight module. Business Insight module consists of 4 dashboards, which are giving you a lot of detailed information in terms of your throughput, in terms of time of visit, membership, and retention. So the question here is, who participates, how often they participate, how is my membership performance, and also, do I understand my members enough? So these are the 4 key questions that we are trying to answer here. The first screen you have on my presentation is the throughput dashboard. So on the throughput dashboard, the design of the dashboards are pretty standard. On the top of the screen, you have the 4 most important KPIs from the last completed month. So what this one is telling me, I have 54 sites feeding data from my operator. Total visits, which is basically total throughput, total headcount, depending on the different naming conventions you might be using. My total headcount from last month, total bookings that generated this total visits, and unique customers, which is the unique individuals that have made this number of bookings. And then in the second part of the page, what I see is a number of graphs which help me to drill down into that top KPIs a little bit more. So what this one is telling me, if I have 43,521 unique customers, how does their age breakdown happen? So, and here what you see is your operator performance in the lighter blue versus the sector age breakdown. And again, this gives you a good view of where you have a higher percentage of your customers coming from younger age groups versus in the sector there is slightly different distribution of these age groups. And I'll show you in the last slide, but you have the opportunity to change your filters. So instead of your full operator, you can see a single contract, a single site, or you can also change the time frame of your analysis as well. So this is just your standard view, but then you can filter that view based on your preferences. On the left-hand side, this time we have my gender comparison, so I can see me versus the sector, how the gender breakdown happens. And then based on the different types of people booking, so whether it's a corporate booking, customer or casual booking, and how does it split me versus the sector. So this is the top level information about who gets active and how can we know more about these people. When I go to my second dashboard, which we call the time of visit dashboard, this time this gets a little bit more interesting in terms of really looking at the question of when do people get active. So the top KPIs you see on the top of the page is telling me the most popular and least popular days of the week and against the sector averages, and then the most popular times of the gym usage or of the leisure center usage versus sector, and same thing for the least popular time. These are the headline KPIs. So what are our drill down numbers? In the drill down section, what I see is this time the full distribution of different days where I have my highest versus lowest participation numbers. How these numbers change throughout the day. So where I have definitely an issue with the utilization of my site, whereas the utilization is the highest. And then how does that break down in terms of different times of the day between female and male participation? So late afternoon, a huge female population but very low male population, whereas early evening, it's mainly dominated by male participants. And in the final stage, time of visit versus age groups. So what time of the day you have older versus younger age groups coming to your facilities. And it's all about really thinking about the use cases of this, because if you combine the first and last part of the screen, what you find out is in early afternoon, you have a serious utilization problem. And if you scroll down and find the same early afternoon time and understand in your facilities or in the sector, what age groups are most likely to use your facilities in those time frames where you have low utilization, that helps you with identifying the right target groups in order to offer your programs to increase participation at that low utilization hours. So when looking at this intelligence, it's all good to see some pretty graphs and numbers, but the key question, again, coming back to actionable insight, is so what? What can we do about this? This nicely takes me to my next screen, which is my membership KPIs. So in the membership KPIs, this time we are focusing on attrition rate, movement rate, joiner rate, and membership length. Since we have limited time, I'm not going to go into huge details of those, but this is basically where you can measure your cancellations versus your joiners, how many people you lost last month versus joined last month, and how does your live members change across the last 12 months compared to the previous 12 months. So you can do a like-for-like comparison for all your sites from last 12 months compared to 24 months compared to the previous 12 months in a rolling basis. So again, here, one of the important KPIs on the right-hand side is the membership length. So it gives you also a good understanding of your membership length against the sector averages. The last KPI page, which we call the retention page, is quite a detailed drill down into your membership KPIs. So the key question we are asking here is, okay, we have a pretty good understanding of our attrition, joiner rates from the previous screen, but are all members behaving the same? So do I have different types of members across my organization? And here we differentiate between 4 different member types. One of them is your new members. The second group is your active members, which is basically people who joined and continue with your memberships. The third group is your at-risk members, and the fourth group is your ex-members. And the KPIs here are all about affecting membership length. We know, based on our 600 million visits, if you get people active in the first month of their membership, they have between 20 to 30% more likelihood to have a longer membership lifetime. So what we are analyzing here is your success rate in terms of getting your members up to 4 times or more visit rate in the first month of their participation. And you can see what percentage of your members are getting to that activity level versus the sector. And then you can do the same for your active members. So in an ongoing way, obviously, it's much less than your new members. How do you keep that activity levels or frequencies as high as possible? And then you identify your at-risk members, which is defined as basically people who have been consistently coming to your leisure centers, but for some reason they have stopped. They not necessarily canceled their memberships, but they are at risk of canceling because they are not active anymore. And the last KPI is actually contributing to the previous analysis we made. We are identifying the number of days between the last visit of a member to the cancellation. So, I mean, based on my dummy variables here, what it tells me is if someone stays idle, doesn't do any activity in my leisure center for 87 days, they are most likely going to cancel. So anyone who hits the 2 months mark, he's become an increasingly at-risk member in order to drop their membership. So again, these KPIs are always updated with the new information coming to the database. So they are not static, but they are updated on a rolling basis. In the rest of the dashboard, this time we see the same new member, active member, and at-risk member and ex-member groups, and we calculate the average frequency for each of these members. And again, from an action point, what this one is telling us is if you manage to get your new members more than once a week participation level, you are most likely to hit your targets in that area. And then in the last part, you can see where these bookings are coming from for your new members. So for my leisure center, 78% of them come from swipe only and 19% from class bookings, whereas in the sector, 85% are swipe only. That means I have a pretty good rate of converting my initial members into class participation level right start from the beginning. So all these different dashboards, and obviously we need quite a lot of time to go into details of this, but allows you to set your business KPIs and to actually measure your performance against the rest of the sector in an ongoing way. The final screen I want to show is the filters page. So as I explained before, what you have seen in those 4 dashboards was always across my whole operator, but you can filter your results for any demographics across your organization. Person type, booking type, so you can just focus on your class or session bookings. Instead of your whole operator, you can select a single site or multiple sites in order to benchmark their performance against the sector. And on the time period, you can either choose to make it rolling, so every month your information will be automatically updated, or you might say we are end of the financial year, which is the calendar year for us, and we are going to set it up to December 2018, and we are going to get a full year's view benchmark against the rest of the sector. Or in the final part, you might say, swimming is our most important activity, so I want the full dashboard to be run based on my swimming programs. And at any time, you can save up to 3 of your favorite filters, so you don't need to come back and change your filters all the time. Whenever you are on your dashboard, basically you can flip between your 3 filters and get your relevant dashboard views for your organization. Just mindful of your time, so, and I'm keen to leave you some time for questions as well. So this wraps up in terms of what platforms we have available now in the DataHub. Just before I open the floor for questions, in the future, in the near future, we will be releasing the next couple of platforms in there. The first 2 will be our marketing intelligence solution, which is basically directly linking your business insight into activating certain marketing campaigns targeted at your new members, at-risk members, or any other members that you would like to target with your campaigns. And our signature product from the UK, which we are about to release in Australia as well, in measuring the social value you generate in terms of improved health, improved subjective well-being, education, and crime by getting people active in your leisure centers. So these two products will be live in the next quarter, and all other products, all other 4 products you've seen today is available for all Links customers at your fingertips. So this is where I'm going to stop and open the floor for any questions that you might have. And Ian, I hope that was at the right speed that you were expecting. And yeah, happy to take any further questions from anyone.
Yeah, as usual, great presentation, Utku. Thank you very much. I think just to stop everyone talking over each other, maybe I'll just go through the list down here, the list of participants, and ask if they have any questions. So I would start with Alicia. No? Amanda Robinson?
I'm just unclear exactly how the data, like the business data, gets grouped together and exactly where it comes from. Like, yeah, a bit open question.
What could you want to?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Amanda, for the question. So we have a direct integration with Links system. So as soon as you decide to join the DataHub, all the integration is already in place, and that means all your bookings, memberships, and basically demographic information data will be transferred from the Links database into the DataHub, and that data will be processed in the DataHub that way. So everything from class bookings to facility bookings to your demographic information of your members will be transferred in that scenario.
Okay, cool. Just another question, just on memberships. Those membership reports look great. Is there a way to filter by membership type at all with those reports? Yes,
and that's the next filter that's coming on the live version. I mean, obviously, that's not on my demo version because we didn't do the standardization of that memberships. But as you just said, imagine having here another drop-down which is for your standard membership categories. And yes, you can filter them for any membership type.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Andrew Edwards.
Yeah, I have a question that's more of a future question. This is really looking at customers and customer focused and the impact of customers as they come and go in the organization. We have, all of us have a large cost, which is staffing and matching that to customers. And that's a big sort of gain for us. What's your intention with bringing in time and attendance and rosters?
Good question. I mean, I can give you an example from the UK. I mean, to be honest, that wasn't in our initial release in terms of linking it to cost or stuffing data, but there is no reason why we can't do that. I mean, for one of our operators, we have done a piece of custom work in the UK where we have linked to their stuffing data as well, and basically we have done some stuff to turnover ratios, stuff to participation ratios, but that's more. I mean, we are driven by the sector needs. So in that scenario, I will be open to discuss the business requirements there. And subject to the availability of the data in the leisure management system, there is no reason for us to embed that piece into your business insight tool as well.
Okay, so you don't have a future plan. It's just kind of based around the participants and where they want to take it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of functionality that's already not in the Australian version, but to come in there. But what I'm just saying is in the UK, that hasn't been raised as one of the key requirements. That's why it's not an existing feature. But again, there's no reason why it shouldn't be.
Yeah, sure. And what happens, who actually owns the data?
Great question. So the data controller is always the operator. So you own your customer data basically. So you have the permission, you have the rights to allow us or anyone else to use that data to whatever purpose you allow us to do. So in our scenario, basically we don't do anything with your data, and that's part of our agreements as well that you will be receiving, other than aggregating it and using it in an anonymized way. So the ownership resides with the data controller, basically.
Okay, and if we left the DataHub, what happens to our data?
Basically, all of that data is taken out of the DataHub in that scenario.
Sure. Okay. No, thank you. That's
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. We need to keep moving. So, Brett Andrews, any question? No? Okay, so I've got a caller number 1 here. I'm not sure if you can identify yourself. No? Okay. So we might just get down to, I think it's Can Sanal. No?
Hello, I'm
sorry.
John is our head of development, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. So we got Liz, Menadip.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Michael Williams.
From my point of view, it was a good demonstration. I think the only thing from my point of view is what's the cost?
That's a difficult question to answer, Michael. It really comes down to how many modules you use, how many sites you have. So it's something that we would talk to you individually about.
Yeah, probably, I understand it'd be an offline question, but
sure.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good tool, and
we obviously want to make it it's accessible to everyone. The more the merrier. This is the way this works. The more data you got, the more powerful it becomes. So yeah, we would think it's quite affordable given the insights that you'll receive.
Yep. It was probably an offline conversation, Ian. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. I've got Nigel Cooper. No, okay. I've got Roland. No, and right at the end of the list there, I think it's Satish. Okay. I think that's a wrap for the moment. We'll be reaching out to everyone after this webinar via email, just to get some feedback from you all. I hope it's been an insightful presentation. Thank you very much, Utku. It was very professionally done. And as I said earlier, we have recorded this presentation. We can make that accessible to you not too long after this this webinar. Utku, did you want to make any final comments before we close off?
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And I mean, I know we have limited time and we have gone through a lot, but more than happy to schedule individual sessions and give you more information whenever you need. So, Ian, thank you very much for organizing, and Links team as well. And looking forward to working together in the near future.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.